India also bracing for American reciprocal taxes. That's despite extensive trade talks in New Delhi in recent days. Those negotiations yielded progress towards a potential trade deal, but the Trump administration is still pushing India to make trade, quote, more fair and equitable. Neha Poonia explains.
New Delhi says both sides have made steady progress on discussing a trade deal that could be signed by October this year. The Commerce Ministry claimed the 4 days of talks were, quote, a success and reflect progress in efforts to expand bilateral trade. Also that both sides discussed ways to increase market access and reduce trade barriers. But what's missing from this optimistic readout is whether or not the progress on the trade talks front will mean that India will be saved the cost of reciprocal tariffs. US President Donald Trump has repeatedly said that Wednesday will be Liberation Day for the US and that no nation will be spared. Washington claims this will also help address unfair competition. But studies have shown that with reciprocal tariffs in place, India's exports to the US could decline by as much as $2 to $7 billion. Sources say it appears US officials did not promise India an exemption. This is despite India reportedly offering to cut tariffs on nearly half of all American imports, a cost valuation of $23 billion. India also reportedly offered to cut tariffs on US agricultural products, automobiles, electronics, and medical devices. It's already cut other taxes since President Trump's return to the White House, including slashing a 6% levy on online ads that impacted American companies like Google. But despite this olive branch, it appears that India's fate remains uncertain, and it's not just the uncertainty for India that's worrying. Experts warn this will hurt businesses everywhere.
So it affects US more than anybody else. The rest of the world will, adjust, and they will start exporting and trading more with each other in the sort of medium term. The bigger issue is uncertainty. What business everybody hates is the uncertainty that is inherent in the idea of tariffs and then tit for tat and then, never ending. Where does this all end?
Some experts believe if higher taxes come into effect this week, that will then be used as leverage by the US to get India to sign an expansive trade pact quickly. New Delhi has historically been a very slow trade negotiator, with talks with the EU and the UK having stretched on for years as the country carefully weighs up the cost of opening up. India exports far more to the US than it imports and has high tariff barriers to protect domestic industries, and this has angered President Trump. He has repeatedly called India a big abuser of tariffs, but said last week that he's sure things will eventually work out with New Delhi. Officials say the fact that India is the only major economy that has agreed to discuss trade expansion with the US instead of threatening to hike tariffs could work in its favor, as could America's own strategic needs in the region.
India is not seen either as an ally, which means higher expectations, neither as an adversary, which means higher anxieties. So India falls somewhere in the middle as a kind of a friend closer to becoming a potential ally and a country that Trump wants to cultivate because of concerns with China and Indo-Pacific.
Both sides will now sit down to hold talks virtually to figure out what trade numbers look like sector by sector. But critics here in India are accusing the Trump administration of backing New Delhi into a corner. They also maintain that the Indian government hasn't done enough to protect Indian interests and is trying too hard to appease the US government. The Indian government maintains that's not the case, but it's also claiming that it doesn't want to lose the United States, which is one of its largest trading partners. Neha Poonia, CNA, New Delhi.